The frost protocol where cold steel meets colder secrets. Sit back. Listen close. Journey begin now. The wind howls across the Greenland ice sheet as Dr. Sarah Chen adjusts her goggles, squinting through the swirling snow. The drilling site's temporary shelter flaps violently against its supports, but the core extraction equipment remains steady, anchored deep into the ancient ice. Core sample 147 coming up, Sarah announces into her radio, her breath fogging in the -40°C air. The mechanical whine of the drill echoes through the shelter as it draws up another cylinder of compressed history. Dr. Marcus Reeves, her research partner, checks the depth readings. We're at 2740 meters. Should be hitting pre-Holocene layers. The core sample emerges, but something is wrong. The usual pristine layers of compressed snow are interrupted by an anomalous dark mass. Sarah's heart races as she carefully transfers the core to the examination table. Marcus, look at this. She points to the object embedded in the ice. That's not geological. Through the crystalline matrix, a perfectly circular object roughly the size of a softball gleams with a dull metallic sheen. The ice around it has a strange, almost luminescent quality. Impossible, Marcus whispers, adjusting the LED lights. This layer should be at least 115,000 years old. A low-frequency hum, barely perceptible, seems to emanate from the core. Sarah feels it more than hears it, a vibration that makes her teeth ache. Get Iverson on the line, she says, not taking her eyes off the sphere. We need the dating lab prepped immediately. As Marcus makes the call, Sarah carefully documents the find. The sphere's surface appears seamless, its colour an impossible mixture of gunmetal and opal. The ice surrounding it glows with a faint bluish tinge that reminds her of the aurora borealis dancing overhead. An hour later, Dr. Eric Iverson arrives from the main research station, his usually composed demeanour cracking with excitement as he examines the find. The indigenous people have stories, he says, setting up his preliminary testing equipment. The elders speak of sleeping giants beneath the ice, left by the sky people. Sarah normally dismisses such tales as folklore, but staring at the impossible sphere, she feels a chill that has nothing to do with the temperature. The first test proved baffling. The mass spectrometer readings make no sense, showing elements that shouldn't exist in those combinations. Carbon dating attempts fail completely. It's as if, Iverson explains, frowning at his instruments, the object isn't just non-terrestrial, it's almost as if it exists slightly out of phase with our reality. A sharp crack echoes through the ice beneath them, making everyone jump. The hum grows stronger, and Sarah notices the sphere's surface has begun to ripple like mercury. Hack it up, she orders, her scientific excitement warring with sudden apprehension. We need to get this to the main lab immediately. As they carefully pack the core sample, the aurora borealis intensifies overhead, sheets of green and purple light dancing with unusual vigour. Sarah can't shake the feeling that something has been set in motion, something that began long before humans walked the earth. A helicopter arrives at dusk, its rotors throwing up clouds of powder snow. As they secure the sample for transport, Sarah notices more ice cores in the storage unit have begun to glow with the same ethereal blue light. Dr. Chen, the pilot, calls out, "We need to leave now." Storm front approaching from the northwest. Sarah takes one last look at the drilling site. The hum has become a constant presence, a subtle vibration that seems to resonate with something deep within the ice sheet. As they lift off, she spots what looks like geometric patterns forming in the snow below, but they are gone before she can be sure. The helicopter banks toward the research station, and Sarah clutches the secured case containing their discovery. Through the reinforced walls, she can feel it pulsing like a frozen heart, awakening from an eons-long slumber. The elders say, Iverson shouts over the rotor noise, that when the giants wake, the sky will break and the old ones will return. Sarah watches the aurora painting the sky in impossible colours and wonders if some stories are more than just stories. The sphere in her possession seems to pulse in agreement, its ancient purpose still hidden but stirring, like a long frozen seed preparing to bloom. The sphere sits in the containment chamber, its polished surface reflecting the harsh laboratory lights. Dr. Sarah Chen watches through triple-layered glass as the first anomalous readings appear on her monitors. The temperature in the lab holds steady at a carefully maintained -15°C, yet the sphere's surface begins to shimmer like heat waves over desert sand. These readings can't be right, Dr. Patel mutters, adjusting his instruments. The energy signature is increasing exponentially, but there's no detectable power source. Sarah leans closer to the glass, her breath fogging the surface. The sphere's metallic skin ripples, and intricate patterns begin emerging, not etched or projected, but somehow growing from within the material itself. The symbols remind her of last night's dream, the one she's been trying to dismiss as stress-induced imagination. Dr. Chen, Rodriguez calls from her station. You need to see this. The patterns there appearing in a systematic sequence. Before Sarah can respond, a low-frequency hum fills the laboratory, just on the edge of human hearing. Equipment vibrates sympathetically, creating a cascade of electronic warnings. The symbols on the sea pulse in rhythm with the sound, casting ethereal shadows on the chamber walls. Is anyone else experiencing? Dr. Patel pauses, pressing his fingers to his temples. The dream, the underground chamber. You've all seen it too, haven't you? The silence that follows is answer enough. Sarah watches her team exchange knowing glances, each face reflecting the same unspoken recognition. The dream, they've all shared a vast, ancient machinery sleeping beneath the ice, suddenly feels less like coincidence and more like communication. The sphere's hum intensifies, and Sarah feels pressure building behind her eyes. On the monitors, energy readings spike in patterns that defy known physics. The symbols now cover the entire surface, flowing like liquid mercury beneath the metallic skin. Start recording on all frequencies, Sarah orders, fighting to keep her voice steady. And someone get Dr. Volkov from linguistics done here now, but even as the words leave her mouth, she knows conventional linguistics would help. The symbols speak to something deeper, more primitive in her mind. They match the glyphs she saw carved into impossible machines in her dreams, in those vast chambers buried beneath miles of ice. Temperature dropping, Rodriguez reports, her breath now visible in the increasingly cold lab. Down to minus 20 degrees C and still falling. The sphere is somehow pulling heat from the room. The overhead lights flicker, and for a moment, the symbols cast their own pale blue luminescence. Sarah catches fragments of meaning not in words, but in images that flash through her mind, a network spanning the globe, nodes buried deep in ancient ice, a countdown that began long before humans walked the earth. Dr. Chen, Batel's voice cracks with urgency. The quantum readings. They're showing temporal distortions. Whatever this thing is, it's not just communicating, it's changing the physical space around it. A sharp crack echoes through the chamber as the first observation window develops, a spiderweb of frost patterns, eerily similar to the sphere's symbols. The hum drops to a frequency that makes Sarah's teeth ache and her vision blur. Full containment protocols, she commands, reaching for the emergency shutdown. Everyone out except essential personnel, and someone get me a secure line to the director. Whatever this is, we're way beyond standard procedures now. As the evacuation alarm blares, Sarah catches her reflection in the frosted glass. For a moment, she sees something else overlaid on her image of figure in her recurring dream, wearing robes inscribed with the same flowing symbols, leaving a message that feels like both a warning and a key. The sphere pulses once more, and all electronic devices in the lab go dark simultaneously. In the sudden silence, the whispers begin, voices speaking in a language that hasn't been heard on Earth for millions of years. Dr. Volkov arrives just as the backup generators kick in. His face goes pale at the sight of the symbols. "This is impossible," he whispers, pressing his tablet against the glass to capture images. These patterns, they share characteristics with petroglyphs found in caves worldwide, but far more complex, and they are moving. Sarah nods, watching as new symbols form and fade like ripples on water. "Can you translate them? Translate?" Volkov laughs nervously. "Dr. Chen, we're not even sure if these are language or mathematical equations or..." He stops mid-sentence, swaying slightly. "The dream," he murmurs. "I had it too, last night, the machines under the ice. The sphere's hum changes pitch, and Sarah feels a sudden pull, not physical, but mental. Images flood her consciousness, a great cataclysm. A choice made by beings who walked Earth when humans were mere genetic potential. A system designed to sleep until needed. It's a key," she says suddenly, understanding flowing through her like ice water. Not just a message, it's activating something buried deep in the ice sheets, and we're not the only ones who have found one. The symbols pulse faster now, their glow intensifying. On her tablet, before it dies completely, Sarah glimpses a news alert about unusual seismic activity in Antarctica. Then another from Siberia. The sphere isn't just a discovery, it's part of a system coming back online. "Clear the lab," she orders, but her voice sounds distant to her own ears. The whispers are getting louder, and in her mind, she sees other spheres, other teams, other facilities around the world. All connected, all awakening. The last thing Sarah sees before security forces her to evacuate is her own reflection again, but this time she's sure the figure behind it isn't her. And it's trying to tell her something about what happens next. Something about what was buried in the ice. Something about why it was buried. Something about what it was meant to stop. The military arrives before dawn. Sarah watches from her office window as black helicopters descend like predatory birds, the rotors whipping snow into ghostly spirals. Colonel Hayes wastes no time establishing a perimeter, his teams moving with practiced efficiency that suggests this isn't their first encounter with the inexplicable. Dr. Chen. Hayes doesn't knock before entering. I need everything you have on the artifact now. Sarah gestures to her screens, most still dark after the sphere's energy pulse. Most of our data was lost in the search, but there's something you need to see. She pulls up satellite imagery on her backup system. Red dots pulls across the global map: Antarctica, Siberia, Greenland, the Canadian Arctic. These energy signatures appeared within hours of our discovery, all in ice sheets, all at precisely the same depth. Hayes' radio crackles. Sierra Actual, we have confirmation from Site Bravo. Crystal formation detected. Sarah feels her blood run cold. Crystal formation, classified. Hayes snaps, but his face betrays concern. Doctor, I need you to. The scream cuts through the building's thick walls. They run together, following the sound to Lab 3. Dr. Patel stands frozen at his workstation, his skin taking on an impossible translucent quality. Crystalline structure spread across his flesh like frost on a window. Sarah moves forward, but Hayes holds her back. Containment team, now. He barks into his radio. Full hazmat protocols. They watch helplessly as Patel's form crystallizes completely, his last expression one of terrible understanding. The process takes exactly 30 seconds. The resulting structure catches the light like diamond, but its geometric patterns match the sphere's symbols perfectly. This happened at Site Bravo 2? Sarah asks quietly. Hayes' silence is answer enough. The next hours blur into a parade of hazmat suits, classified briefings, and increasingly desperate attempts to understand what they've awakened. Sarah works through intercepted communications from other sites, piecing together a pattern that becomes more terrifying with each connection. The spheres are synchronized, she tells Hayes, pointing to her data. They're not just similar artifacts, they're nodes in a network, and that network is waking up to do what? Hayes demands. Before Sarah can answer, the building's foundation shudder. Deep beneath the ice, something vast is stirring. The sphere's hum changes frequency, and every crystal in the lab, including what remains of Dr. Patel, begins to resonate. Get everyone out, Sarah whispers, recognizing the frequency from her dreams. Now the evacuation siren wails as the ice sheet groans. Through the windows, Sarah sees the aurora borealis twist into impossible patterns, mirroring the sphere's symbols. Her tablet lights up with urgent messages from other sites: Antarctica, massive subglacial structure detected; Siberia, crystallization event, multiple casualties; Greenland, artifact network activating, unable to contain its defense system. Sarah realizes the dream's finally making sense. The ancient civilization, they built it to protect against something they saw coming. Hayes' radio erupts with chatter. Perimeter breach in Sector 7. Energy readings off the scale. We've lost contact with Site Charlie. The sphere pulses, and every electronic device within a mile radius dies simultaneously. In the sudden darkness, the crystalline structures, including Patel, begin to glow with an inner light. The chimes they emit form a harmony that makes Sarah's vision blur. Through the crystalline resonance, she hears whispers again. But this time, she understands. The spheres aren't just a warning system, they're a trigger. And what they're triggering is rising from its ancient sleep beneath the ice sheets of the world. Colonel, Sarah says, her voice steady despite her terror, I know what's coming, and I know why they buried these devices in the ice. Hayes looks at her, the hardened soldier finally showing fear. What are we dealing with, Doctor? Before she can answer, the ground heaves. Through the laboratory windows, they watch as something massive breaks through the ancient ice, a structure of impossible geometry, its surface covered in the same symbols that claimed Dr. Patel's life. The defense grid is awakening, and humanity has no idea what it was built to defend against. Get me secure communications with all sites, Sarah orders, surprising herself with her authority. And Colonel, we're going to need bigger guns. The crystalline chimes reach a crescendo as more structures breach the ice worldwide. The aurora above pulses in sync, and Sarah knows this is only the beginning. What sleeps beneath the other ice sheets is stirring. What the ancient civilization feared is returning. And humanity has just become caught in a war they didn't know was coming. Sarah's fingers fly across the makeshift command center keyboard. Around her, military analysts track the crystalline structures emerging worldwide, but she barely hears their chatter. The symbols dancing across her screen hold the key. She's certain now. The crystallization isn't an attack, she mutters. It's a transformation protocol. The remains of Dr. Patel, now sealed in a containment chamber, pause with each new emergence. The geometric patterns in his crystalline form match the sequences Sarah's decoding, not just similar, but identical. It's a quantum computing matrix, she realizes. The ancients encoded their message in a format that could survive millions of years of ice. The deep rumble shakes the facility. Below, another structure breaks free from its icy tomb. The sound it makes isn't mechanical, it's almost organic, like a sleeping giant drawing its first breath in eons. Got it. Sarah's screen fills with decoded text. Colonel, look at this. Hayes leans in, his face illuminated by the pulsing symbols. The translation renders in real time. Protocol froze. Team in A7 activated. Stellar threat detected. Initiating planetary defense grid warning. Transformation sequence cannot be aborted. Stellar threat. Hayes demands. Sarah points to astronomical data streaming in. Something's wrong with the sun. The coronal mass readings at the facility's lights flicker as another surge hits. Through the reinforced windows, they watch the aurora twist into impossible shapes, forming lattices that mirror the emerging structures. The ancient civilization, Sarah explains, reading faster, they detected a solar event, something cyclical, something that threatens all life on Earth every. She pales. Every 12,000 years, the ground shudders again. Beneath them, the massive structure continues its awakening, each movement accompanied by crystalline chimes that set teeth on edge. They couldn't stop it, Sarah continues. But they found a way to survive. The defense grid is not meant to fight, it's meant to transform. Transform what? Hayes asks, though his expression suggests he already knows. Everything. Sarah's voice drops to a whisper. The crystallization is a preservation protocol. It converts organic matter into a form that can survive. The facility's sensors scream as another surge approaches. This one's different, stronger, more focused. The crystalline remains of Dr. Patel begin to resonate at a frequency that cracks the containment glass. We have minutes, Sarah realizes. The grid is powering up for full conversion. Every living thing on Earth is going to try to save us all by turning us into crystal. Hayes barks into his radio, ordering emergency evacuations worldwide. That's not saving, that's its suspended animation, Sarah interrupts. Look at the pattern. The crystal matrix preserves neural patterns, memories, everything that makes us human. When the stellar event passes, another surge. The facility's backup generators kick in as the main power fails. Through the chaos, Sarah sees new data streaming in. The defense grid is fully online now, its ancient systems interfacing with modern satellites. The warning message continues. Conversion protocol initiated. Estimated time to stellar event, 17 minutes. Preservation matrix charging. All biological entities will be secured. There has to be a way to stop it, Hayes insists. Sarah shakes her head, watching the energy reading spike. The ancients tried. This was their last resort. But maybe. She studies the code scrolling past. Maybe we can modify the protocol, not stop it, but direct it. How? The grid responds to the quantum signatures in the crystalline structures. If we can access the main node, the first sphere we found, maybe we can. The facility rocks as another structure breaches the surface. Through the windows, they see it rise, a tower of impossible geometry, its surface covered in the same symbols that claimed Patel. But now Sarah understands their meaning. It's a receiver as she breathes. The whole grid is designed to channel the stellar energy, use it to power the transformation. But if we can redirect that energy, Hayes is already moving. What do you need? Get me to the sphere, and pray we have enough time. They race through corridors now bathed in emergency lighting. The crystalline chimes grow louder, more insistent. Through every window, they see more structures rising, their surfaces beginning to glow with internal light. The lab housing the sphere has transformed. The artifact hovers at its center, surrounded by a field of pure energy. The symbols on its surface pulse in sync with the aurora visible through the ceiling. The ancients built this to save their civilization, Sarah explains, setting up her equipment. But they didn't account for how we'd evolve. Our biology, our technology, we're different enough that maybe another surge rocks the building. Through her tablet, Sarah watches as crystallization events begin worldwide. The process is accelerating. Whatever you're going to do, Hayes shouts over the rising hum, do it fast. Sarah's fingers dance across the interface she's built. The sphere responds, its symbols shifting. She's rewriting the protocol in real time, using the quantum language of the ancients too. The aurora flares bright enough to blind. When her vision clears, Sarah sees new data streaming across her screen. The stellar event is beginning. Audit, she cries. The transformation protocol, I've modified it to the sphere pulses. Every screen, every device, every piece of technology in the facility goes dark. In the sudden silence, Sarah hears the crystalline chimes reach their crescendo. The choice she's made will change everything. The light comes, and the world transforms. The sphere's energy field expands, filling the lab with quantum fire. Sarah's modified code streams across its surface, fighting against the ancient protocol. Through the windows, she sees the defense grid's crystalline towers pulsing in response. It's working, she breathes. The grid accepting the new parameters. Hayes checks readings on his tactical pad. Crystallization events dropping worldwide, but he looks up. The stellar event's still coming. Sarah nods grimly. We can't stop that, but instead of transforming everyone, the grid will now. The building shakes. Outside, the aurora forms new patterns, not the geometric lattices of before, but spiral formations that seem to reach toward space. The ancient solution was to preserve everything, Sarah explains, fingers flying across her interface. But we can redirect the grid's energy, create a planetary shield instead. If I can, just a new sound cuts through the quantum hum crystal chimes, but wrong. Fractured. Dr. Patel's containment chamber has ruptured. What remains of him stands in the doorway. The crystalline form still holds his shape, but now it moves. Through the translucent surface, Sarah sees patterns of light that might be thoughts. His voice resonates like wind through crystal caves. You must not interfere, James. Sarah steps back. You're aware the preservation protocol works. Patel's crystalline form advances. I understand now. What comes cannot be stopped, only survived. Hayes raises his weapon. Stay back. The grid must transform all. Patel continues. Your modification will doom humanity. Let the protocol complete. Sarah checks her readings. James, listen. The shield will work. We don't need to know. Crystal fragments spray as Patel moves with impossible speed. Hayes fires, but the bullets shatter harmlessly. You don't understand what's coming. Through the ceiling windows, the aurora turns blood red. The stellar event approaches its peak. Patel reaches for the sphere. I'll restore the original protocol. Save everyone. James, please. Sarah positions herself between him and the artifact. That's not saving, that's just preserving. Humanity needs to face this as ourselves, not as living crystals, then you'll die. Patel's form begins to fracture, releasing pure energy. All will die. Hayes tackles Sarah as Patel explodes. Crystal shards fill the air. The sphere pulses, its symbols flickering between Sarah's modified code and the original protocol. The grid's destabilizing. Sarah checks her tablet. The conflicting commands. Can you fix it? Hayes helps her up. Yes, but... She looks at the sphere, then at Patel's scattered fragments. Someone needs to manually interface, direct contact. Hayes understands immediately. How long? Seconds, but the energy discharge. Sarah meets his eyes. Whoever does it won't survive. Another surge rocks the facility. Through every window, they see the defense grid's tower straining, caught between transformation and protection protocols. Ace checks his tactical pad one last time. Removes his dog tags. Colonel, no save them, Doctor. He smiles. That's an order. Before she can stop him, Hayes plunges his hands into the sphere's energy field. His body goes rigid as quantum fire courses through him. The code he grits out. Now Sarah forces herself to focus, entering the final commands. Through tears, she watches Hayes' form begin to crystallize, not like Patel, but something new. Something sacrificial. The sphere accepts the protocol. Hayes' crystalline form shatters as the grid surges to full power. Above, the aurora spirals into a planetary shield just as the stellar event hits. Sarah watches through the ceiling as waves of stellar energy wash against humanity's last defense. The grid holds. Slowly, the light fades. Around the world, the crystalline towers power down. The aurora returns to normal. And in the sudden silence, Sarah kneels beside Hayes' remains a perfect crystal in the shape of his dog tags. She picks it up gently. "Thank you," she whispers. Through the windows, she sees the first light of a new dawn. Humanity faces it unchanged and preserved, but protected, ready to learn from both the ancients' wisdom and their fears. The Frost Protocol ends, and the future begins.